Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to all the leaders who joined here. 2025 starts from here, though we started in February. January started with the coming back from the vacation and then settling down and then creating a kind of a strategy and then getting into the strategic meetings and all that. Started with this, and now I think most of us would have done with the strategic planning and also many of them have done the offsite meetings with the team globally and all that. And now is February is when that like started the kickstart of 2025 actions. I see 2025 is something great stage for all the WFM professionals. If you look at the World Economic Forum discussion recently, everyone talked about the kind of AI. How do we embrace AI, and how do you really make it work and make organization efficient and open up new doors for the business? How AI can open up new business opportunities, and how WFM can play a key role. In fact, they talked about the resources, manpower, and then talent. I remember that Accenture CEO talking about skill is a currency, and they're looking at that the amount of skills that they have invested in, and then skilling and upskilling, and making sure that they're constantly getting the resources, learning, and making sure that they are updated for now and also for tomorrow. Everyone is looking at long term. It's just next 1 year, not 2 years and beyond that. So everyone is excited about AI. How do we really do it? And a lot of them talking about the job and will my job be taken out? And then good news for WFM professionals that we will have more jobs to do and intelligent work to do. And some of the roles might get redundant, but more jobs to do and more things. In fact, I'm seeing the trends as a lot of them are moving and switching the jobs. Seen a lot of LinkedIn postings that join new company and all that, and a lot of them started hiring too. You see that job postings from most of the companies. Everyone started hiring. Even Martin, I see that started hiring. Melissa and even Jay started hiring. A lot of companies I see that started hiring WFM professionals and also the AI engineers. And everyone is looking at the new tools, new solutions, what can really help solving their current problem and also scale their business. So with this, welcome all the great leaders. It's fortunate to have Vinith moderating again after 1 year of gap, and we really missed you, Vinith. And Vinith is one of the greatest gurus of WFM. He has mentored more than thousands of WFM leaders, and those leaders are now leading the global companies, and everyone looks up to Vinith. Is the wisdom of WFM, wisdom to business, and wisdom towards people is amazing. You're going to listen to him, and he's going to moderate the session. Great to have you, Vinith, with us today, and everyone is so excited to listen to you.
Thank you,
And
Shiva.
and today we have speakers from all over the world. We have the speakers from India, APAC, Philippines, and North America, Latin America, and also from Europe. So great to have you, Melissa. And Melissa from North America is a WFM Global Head of Support Services. She works out of US and heads the Global Senior Vice President of Support Services Group. She works out of US. Great to have you, Melissa, with us.
Thank you. Good
Welcome
morning,
to
everyone. I'm
Roundtable.
actually coming from Hermosillo, Mexico today.
Wow.
So really excited to be here. Join my brothers and sisters in workforce leadership once again. Was saying earlier how we all just come together like family at these events, right? So it's really exciting to share the insights and hear the insights of all these professionals. So thanks for having me.
Great to have you, Melissa. And then we have Martin. So Martin is Vice President, Global Operations and WFM of Atento. Martin was one of the speakers in the previous events that we had in Colombia. Martin works from Colombia. Great to have you with us, Martin.
Thank you very much, Ivan. I'm very grateful to be here. I'm seeing that we have a lot of people here from the workforce where I don't think I ever seen so many workforce leaders all together. So just because of that, those are great news.
Thank you. Thank you so much for making your time. And Jay is evergreen and thought leader, SVP and workforce and quality of Teletech. Joined in now newly and has got a big team worldwide. I hear Jay that like he's in the transformation of the team and transformation of his organization totally. Great to have you, Jay, with us, and love to have your WFM wisdom and insights.
My pleasure. Looking forward to learning and participating. So wonderful to see everybody.
Thanks, Jay. And Evelyn, welcome. Evelyn is Vice President, Global Leader, and Workforce Solutions from Kyndryl. Evelyn works from UK. Great to have your insights with us and your valued presence, Evelyn.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I've been on one of these, but it was a few years ago, so it's lovely to come back and recognize a few of the faces already. Thank you.
Great. Okay, welcome, Evelyn. And Russell is WFM leader from Results. Russell works from Philippines. Great to have you with us, Russell. We met you in a couple of events in Philippines.
Yes, I was about to say it's nice that we're getting everybody across the globe today because we usually do our events regionalized or per geo, but it's nice to see a lot of our workforce people coming together into this event. And thank you for having me.
Thanks, Russell. And welcome, David. David is a global head of workforce planning at Ericsson. David works out of Europe and UK. And recently we had he's interviewed me for a few of the questions. What is workforce planning? What is workforce management and all? So very lovely questions. And David has been doing a lot of research and has been speaker in a few of the forums. So great to have you with us, David, and looking forward for your valuable insights. And
thank you for asking me, Shiva. I'm looking forward very much to sort of getting a new perspective from all of these practitioners. It's great to see so many people here.
Great. Welcome, David. Thank you. Welcome, Mark. Mark is a director, workforce management of Results. Mark works from US. Great to have you with us, Mark. Looking forward to
Thank you. I
listening to
appreciate the
your insights.
invite and look forward to all the insight today. So thank you again.
Welcome all. And welcome all the participants. I saw that around 300 registrations and I'm sure that all of us are going to join in here. And GWFM brings new insights and take updates from the market and listen to the leaders and get to know what's happening currently and what's the future of happenings. A lot of insights and great sharings from the speakers, and also you learn from each other. And GWFM is making an attempt to get all of us together. So it's uniting. This year, 2025 is going to be another milestone in which we want to reach. And all this can be possible, with all your support. So we have a great theme today. Vinith is going to have a conversation with all the leaders on the role of WFM leaders, WFM priorities for 2025. We're going to set the stage and a lot to learn from each leaders who are here present today. Strategies for navigating AI adoption, enhancing workforce agility, and then managing exponential growth. What a great topic that we're going to cover. And in a nutshell, we're going to have very comprehensive view and learning from each leaders, from each geographic perspective, and also each organizations and then their perspective and their insights on this. So before we move on quickly, I want to talk about the new book, which is already in production. This is going to be published very soon. So far, there's no maturity model standards. Everyone says that we're doing great or maybe average or not that great. So this model, WF maturity model, would tell us that where do you stand as of now and how do we really reach the benchmarking at the global standard. We have 5 levels: level E, D, C, B, and A. and you will see the physical book in each event that you're going to get this, and also next month, you'll also have a copy of. This is also going to be made available on Amazon, also in Kindle, and the many other forms that you're going to get this. So excited to launch this. And this has been the hard work of since last 10 years output of my PhD thesis. So to talk about GWFM, most of us know. Thought of I'll just walk you through that. What we do, we have built one of the largest WFM learning platform with around 25 courses. So far, we have more than 57,000 WFM professionals, operations, quality, HR have taken up the program, and we have got a very good feedback, and still we are trying to add new topics, new learnings, new courses, and all that. By this year, we will have another 10 new courses, which are going to be need-based and also organization-based. So we want to create learning, skilling and upskilling to WFM and organizations professionals, where they create more value to the business, more value to the organization, and then to the industries by putting in their smart way of doing it, and then doing things differently, improve their productivity and efficiency. Since AI is coming in, and we got to really be smarter than the AI, stay on the curve. So very interestingly, we have a very good number of events this year. In fact, just waiting for a visa for US. If that comes in, we will have a couple of events in Vegas and a few other places. We already planned events in Latin America. This year, we go to UK and Dubai. Already, first event is planned in Australia, which is coming up on 9th of May. And India, of course, we will have Anil event, and Philippines is going to have a APAC event. Please stay tuned and look up to our social media. If you're not joined yet, please join in and stay connected, and please interact and reach out to us for any help or support you need. So GWFM Innovation Lab, anyone would want to explore innovation, because we lack innovation. Only innovation is done by the transformation team, or maybe from the technical team, or only CIO initiates that. No. So we got to really do it. Whatever that we had done in the last year is a little outdated, because scenario and business scenario for today and in this year is going to be totally changed. We got to have new solutions for the new problems which we have. How can we add value? GWFM facilitates innovative labs and bring in innovation and kind of business cases. So far, we've been very successful in bringing in around 4 books, around 65 to 70 business cases, and we will be able to, all the participants would be able to already, should be having it. If you don't have, go to our learning platform, and, you can buy these books and benefit all your team members, so that each learning from each company is a great learning. And these are some of the events that where we met our WFM professionals across the world, in Latin America and also in India, Philippines, and few other places. We have done many events so far. This year is going to be another big time events that we're going to have. So with this, I'm going to bring back the strategic leadership roundtable. It's really a privilege to have all the participants who are joined in from all over the world. Trust me, today is the day that next 1 hour, you listen to the leaders and also put across your questions to any of the speakers in the chat box, so that we will have the questions from many of you, and our leaders are going to answer it. Try to do our best to answer all your questions. Feel free to interact. So great to have all the speakers today. With this, I invite Vinith. Vinith is the Chief of Staff, APAC Sales and AM of Concentrix. Vinith doesn't need much introduction. He has more than 3 decades of experience in business and workforce management and operations and strategic business leadership. Great to have with you as Vinith. With this, I invite you to take up the leadership roundtable. Vinith, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you, GWFM, for the opportunity. And Thank you, all the seven magical, mystical, wonderful speakers who are going to enthrall, enchant through your wisdom and experience that is going to come out. For all the participants who are there in the session, I am sure keep your eyes and ears and obviously your watchful notepads or whichever medium you use, keep them handy. I'm sure there's going to be significant amount of wisdom that you'll borrow from each of the seven magnificent speakers. I will, of course, start with you, Jay Parik, and then possibly I will keep calling out the names and we'll move ahead. Uh, Dr. Shiva did make a mention that there were five themes that he was looking at. Obviously, there are going to be seven questions that are going to be modeled around the five themes. Uh, what I want to draw the attention of every speaker is, of every participant is that we are at the cusp. While we are starting in 2025, think of it this way, that in the third decade of the 21st century, we are at the midpoint. Right, and 5 years down the line, third decade is going to be history. Uh, we are at that cusp where we have witnessed not so long ago where COVID pandemic etc. had hit us, and that had completely redefined the definition of uh, workplace. And there was a stage where people would go to work prior to pandemic, and in most of the industries, including IT and ITS. Having said that, there was a stage where work started coming to where people were. I think that was the shift that had happened in terms of definition of workplace. We continue to follow in the hybrid state right now. Second important point, and this has been talked about in two consecutive World Economic Forums, 2024 edition, 2025 edition, that Dr. Shiva also spoke about. VUCA is history. We don't hear this word anymore, right? Is it obsolete? Possibly yes. Is it out of vocabulary? Possibly yes. But the reason why that is happening is because there is a whole new dimension that has started coming in form of AI. The usage of the word transformation is going to soon become passé or history. I think the role of WFM thought leadership that has to go in is in terms of looking at the way machine learning is going to be coming across, and the way it is going to be disrupting the whole definition of workforce. Uh, the basic constraint so far, what one would be looking at, and each of the WFM professional who is there on the call today knows it the best, right? The biggest finite constraint that a workforce manager faces is time. I mean, end of the day, think of it this way. Naturally speaking, there are 24 hours in a day, and that is your biggest constraint. However many $1 billion you may throw, you cannot increase the time scale of a day beyond 24 hours. So how do you get to the stage where, and that is where possibly to dismantle that as a constraint, a lot of machine learning concept are going to be utilized towards the workforce. So, coming quickly back onto the basic set of tenets that we are going to be listening from each of our speakers, and Jay, the first set of question that would come across to you would be in terms of uh, prior to 2020, we largely had people going to where work was. What are some of the massive disruptions that you are anticipating in the whole definition of workforce in light of what AI and automations are going to be driving?
As we've been kind of learning and evolving and going through radical changes over the last probably 5 6 years, with COVID being a very damaging leveler across the playing field, where it forced innovation, right? And along with that, for all the, I think, the pain and suffering it brought, I think the innovation it has brought along with it has provided a huge improvements in a work life integrations, right? I don't use work-life balance because, personally, I don't think there is a such thing, right? For all the working people who are single parents who are, working two jobs, or people who are, doing 20 different tasks, in Melissa's case, taking up more responsibilities on, year by year basis, right? So all of these things require certain level of integration, and as a leaders, I think all of us end up making some level of decisions that allow us to have a some level of playing field that we can incorporate it in our ecosystem. And as we continue to mature and evolve, I think use of the technology, from early days of literally using notepads and paper to do basic scheduling, to having push button dials, or rotary phone dials, or don't want to go carbon date myself too much, but to all the innovations that a lot of us, right? I think there's a lot of youngsters nowadays uh, that probably have not they don't necessarily have a good context around it, but all the innovations that we have seen, and the acceleration of the innovation from uh, you know the automation kicking in, kind of running into big data analytics, right? And that big data was a big thing, and it seems like it lasted for like a year and then just kind of fizzled away, right? Then machine learning has come in, now the AI has come in, and now the agentic AI has come in. So as the evolution continues, right, for the team members that I have a privilege to support. Uh, I think using the integration, just as I use a work-life integration in my personal life, I think using the technology integration with the people intelligence is going to be critical, right? How do we use the automation that's available? How do we use the machine learning that's available? How do we use the AI, the agents, the actions that we can kind of get out of it, right? To kind of get away from day-to-day administrative tasks, the monotonous tasks, right? That can simplify our life, but keeping in mind that along the way, in the process, we're not uh, dumbing down our workforce, so to speak, right? Because it's so easy to get accustomed to that. Oh, I just need to push this button here and push this button there, and magic will happen, and somebody is gonna somewhere is gonna throw some pixie dust, and life is gonna be better. And the check me's, the intelligence pieces, learning what is your why, and understanding that how that impacts your business. Now more and more financials components are coming into play on a day-to-day basis, right? And even at a frontline team member level, right? We are expecting a lot more as a return on simplifying the life, right? So I look at that as, while people kind of fear some optimization, and some of that will organically happen, but I think if we focus more on building business intelligence and what we can provide to our environment and our organizational ecosystem, I think we'll go a long, long distance as the AI, and that even that innovation is accelerating significantly, right? And that's not going to stop for another 10, 12 years.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for bringing that context out. And instead of me actually talking about it, Melissa, any additional points that you will want to add?
Well, first of all, don't remind us that we're going into the third decade. You're going to make us all feel old. So, thank you. But no, I have seen a dramatic shift in the last few years of workforce management, and sometimes we don't pinpoint it to because of AI. So one of the dramatic shifts is that I think if 20 years ago you tried to get a roundtable of WFM executives in one place, we did not exist in the world. WFM had to fight for their seat at the table, at the executive table, at the vice presidency table. We were embedded in operational runs. But now companies are we're not having to fight for the seat at the table. They are creating a seat because they understand that the more technology you have, the more strategic thinking you need to adapt. And look at LinkedIn pages and how many WFM consulting groups are popping up around the world. That's not on accident. That's not in lieu of AI. That's because AI is driving a different thought. Now, I think, and I've always said that one of the hardest things about being a good workforce leader is understanding the humanistic impact of what you do. It's doubly true with AI. Like AI automates, but it doesn't create a better place for people to work unless you use it to enable and engage the humans. Right. So I think that's going to be a big shift in workforce. And again, even like as I expand, as we go through our careers together, we'll see more and more of that. But our workforce in the AI world has become louder than ever. And yes, we can automate our tools, but one thing that is the danger of AI, kind of like Jay was saying, you can't push a button and expect it to know. I'm an expert. AI-driven emails to me, even from clients. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like their tone. I think she wrote this with AI and didn't really understand how that came across. So I've become an expert of like, filtering the AI with what they're really saying to me, and then coming back with a valid response. But I think it is very critical that critical thinking and strategic thinking is embedded in our organizations, and that if you are not having a seat at that table, then you do need to get there. You need to show the value of your organization in this AI world.
Fantastic. Thanks, Melissa, for bringing that out. Yeah, executive presence is something that has significantly shifted. I think very, very pleasant, positive change. And I think from the prism of AI and automation, if we were to look at it, Jay did talk about agentic AI. He talked about work-life integration. You brought across into an interesting perspective around around the shift that is happening and the rearing up that needs to be undertaken, I think is going to be critical. Moving on to you, Mark, what are your perspectives that we are looking at it? Are you in agreement or disagreement with whatever Jay and Melissa have shared?
No, they brought up good points. I think one of the the only thing I can add to what they've said is just we've got to treat AI as a tool, not a replacement for a WFM person, right? So it's not going to, well, in some cases, going to replace some of the tasks, but it's really a tool, and we've got to be careful. Like, and Jay hit it on the head, and he said we can't dumb down our team. It's just that continual learning, improvement, uh, continuous improvement, and understanding the tool, being able to utilize the tool um, to make better decisions, to have that, to give that guidance, give that information like Melissa was talking about to all the additional leaders when we have that seat at the table. So it's I think in just really all I have to add, unfortunately, because they really had a lot of great points, but it's just utilizing the AI tool and not thinking about it as a replacement to your workforce member itself. So.
Okay, sure. No, I think that's a right perspective. And if I was to lay down a hypothesis, and everybody can shoot me out here, but let me still lay down that hypothesis. Um, it links to the fact that there was a time when forecasting skills used to be the hot skills or the hottest skills, so to say, came at a premium, came at a price, came at a setup of multitude of baggage that one would carry. You would get statisticians in play who would do Monte Carlo simulations, or they would do Winterholtz method, or they would do exponential smoothing, and whatever you may have, right? So each of those models are going to be done by some machinery at some stage or the other. Uh, Now, that's a hypothesis. Right. Will it replace a WFM forecasting manager? Answer is not. Will it replace a WFM forecasting analyst? Answer is not. But will that reduce the scale and possibly increase? Is just a food for thought that we may want to look at. Having said that, any other points that any of the other speakers may want to add? I mean, Evelyn, David.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, a lot of what everybody else has discussed there, but AI is not about replacing workers. It's really augmenting them, creating demand for new skill sets. We've got to make sure our teams have the right skills to work alongside AI, to understand how it's working, what the algorithms are, etc. So they can enhance their skill set and provide that level up of decision making. So AI is going to really help us searching, matching, moving work around, but it does need that human understanding, and then bringing that to our employees and about the roles that they've got. So, it's not going to replace workers, but really help them upskill. And I think as a workforce management leader, we've got to really give our teams the right skill sets to work alongside AI.
I think I would agree with you on that one, Evelyn. We're already using it, and I haven't noticed a sudden sort of cascade of reductions in force anywhere in the world, at least not so far. I think we're going to see work changing. A guy called Andy Gibson from Ernst & Young has sort of kind of laid out, yes, you know him, Vinny, obviously. He's laid out this hypothesis that AI is the latest, albeit a very significant event in a long line of technological events in which certain skills have become virtually redundant overnight, but nobody's lost their job, or at least not over in the long term. We've adapted. To the point about the workforce and workplace linkage, I'm reminded back to Dawn Klinghoffer, who's the head of people analytics for Microsoft, and she talks a lot about moments that matter in the workplace. And I think that there is a part to play in recognizing that the workplace serves different purposes, not only for different sort of stages of the cycle, but also for different groups of people. Those of us who, and I thank you for sort of talking about sort of the generational stage we're at, especially being in my 7th decade. It is easy, relatively, for me to strike up relationships and to make contact and learn how to sort of work together with people. We need those centres, however, still for, I think, people who are entering their career journey to learn those same techniques. When we talk about AI, to such an extent that we do, I think we overlook at our peril the potential need for people to make sense of it. And I think that's going to be one of the big challenges as we go through the next 5-10 years. Not only of how do we learn how to both respect but also to challenge it, but how we also teach subsequent generations to do so. You're muted, Vinny.
I am so sorry. Thank you, David. Martin, Russell, any pointers that you would want to bring out?
Yeah, I was about to say I would totally agree with Evelyn earlier, right? She was emphasizing about our human expertise. So going back to what happened in pandemic, it wasn't AI who brought the solution, right? To continue working. It was still the human expertise in problem solving the adversities that we face. It's still a critical factor, right? AI just brought that additional tool to make it happen. So I think now we're in a hybrid work model. I would still think it will evolve. But the focus going forward will now shift from location based employment to maybe an outcome driven employment because of the help of AI and automation.
Fantastic.
Actually, I think that great points were made here. So I don't want to be redundant, but perhaps one thing that I think is going to be like the biggest challenge we have is we need to reskill our teams, right? So that's like challenge number one for, and it's going to be in workforce, but it's also going to happen in quality assurance or continuous improvement or training. I mean, that's going to be like the sound that everyone is going to be playing. How we reskill our teams. So I think that we need to have the ability to interpret AI, and I think that's a challenge. um, Melissa was giving a great example of, like, people are writing emails with ChatGPT every day. So after that, I mean, and that's just the writing email. So that's for the workforce, especially. I think that it's not going to be so much about their forecasting or technical skills per se, but it's going to be much more about how to integrate whatever the AI tools are giving us, and that could be for forecast, and that's going to be for scheduling, that's going to be for planning, of course, and but how to integrate that with what's the actual human factor about it. Uh, and when you say human factor, I'm talking about not only legislations, of course, but I'm talking about personal preferences. I'm talking about what the client actually wants. Not maybe it's not going to be necessarily the best um, uh, technical results. So I think that that's going to be the biggest challenge. So for me, upskilling
Yeah.
is where we need to focus.
Yeah, Martin, that's a great point. Like if you guys think about if 10 years ago, if you asked, what was a critical skill that you needed in a workforce, you would say math, right? But if the
Right.
math is done, the critical skill is understanding, strategic, like making other people understand the high level skill set without actually doing the math. So it is a big change in our occupation.
Very, very well
Yeah.
said, Martin. Very well said, Russell, and obviously very well complimented, Melissa. I think taking it back, one aspect that Melissa brought out was as she started, right? It's a family, and then what defines a family? It's about the virtues that they carry. It's about the value that they carry, and how do they define a charter for themselves. So, couple of things which possibly AI will struggle to emulate, and maybe matter of time. There are lot many human computer interfaces that are being researched upon right now. I think uh, gazillions of dollars are being pumped into it. Wearable technology is coming into play, and technology integration that Jay spoke about and alluded about. I think all of that is going to come, which we'll witness in the fourth decade of 21st century. Sorry, reminding you again, Melissa, in terms of decades, but I thought it was important to make that segue and come back to establish another set of hypotheses as I pose next set of questions. So the hypothesis is that there is going to be a significant amount of culture shift, and so what that will mean is that role of a WFM leader is going to be uh, far more far more uh, uh, thought leadership driven, far more emotional quotient driven, far more conversational intelligence driven than what we have seen today from a WFM thought leadership point of view, which, as Melissa rightfully said, was highly quantitative, aptitude driven basis. So, what's the question? So, once when you have laid down that hypothesis, what's the question? What competence do you believe will be the requirement of next gen WFM professional from the prism and the eyes that we see? I will just make a shift now and move in slightly a reverse order. Maybe I will want to start with you, Russell, first.
Yeah, so I think by maybe 2030, WFM professionals will need a blend of data science. We talk about AI a lot. We will need to be in that moment, like AI fluency is very important, strategic agility, and behavioral analytics. But, you know, a persona of the global WFM leader will still be there, but it will evolve significantly. We are going to be I would say, the digital orchestrator. It's still going to be a blend of our traditional workforce expertise. I know a lot of us has been in workforce world for so many years. We talk about age. Pardon me, Evelyn, you don't want to hear it again. But yeah, a lot of us, evolve around the traditional workforce expertise that we have. But we have to adapt to the changes, especially AI, automation, technology, innovation. we have to adapt first to be able to, pull our group as well towards the same direction. It it doesn't have to be just one person, right? The leader is already ready, but the team is not. So we have to make sure that us as leaders know the objective, know what we need to do, and we have to also look at our people, because whenever you go to a combat, you can't go alone. You'll die. You need your soldiers, right? So we
Yeah.
have to be together in this fight, right? So if one can adapt, of course, we have to adapt, all of us. Although not everyone can adapt at the same pace, right? And that's where the global leader would need to be, in the essence of being a leader, you should know where to focus on. If not all of your people can adapt, you need to focus on those skills. You need to upskill them so everyone will go into the right direction, because the timing is also crucial, right? You can't just, okay, I have this plan, but you have to also look at the criticality of the timeline, because you cannot be left behind. Everybody is adapting to the change. So very important to look at your people skills. I'd say that's the first thing.
Perfect. Okay. So reskilling is something that we heard earlier, and now important to look at the people skills is very clearly coming out. Thank you, Russell. I will invite attention of you, David. Uh, what would you want to add, delete, modify, supplement, complement?
I think although there are an awful lot more people in this space now than there is still a lot of inconsistency in what they do, and where they sit within the organization. Now, I was interested to hear, I think it was Melissa, you were talking about sort of workforce managers now having a seat at the table. I still think that that's the exception rather than the rule, particularly at the sort of the top of large organizations. And some of the surveys that I've conducted have suggested that sort of strategic workforce planners and managers can sit as low as CEO -5 or even 6. Well, they're no good there, and there's no point in beating about that particular bush. The skill that these people have already is quite unique in an organization outside of the executive team. If you think about it, you get to see the whole picture. That's what makes this whole business quite so attractive. It's a bit like Hotel California, and nobody wants to leave it because it's such an interesting space. We therefore, and I agree with you, Russell, that we certainly need more more people skills, but we also need, because so much is coming into us, we need to really hone our skills on being able to sort out what I would call here the wheat from the chaff. What's the stuff that matters, and what's the stuff that's got to be conveyed up to leadership. I think we have a role to play in identifying risk, not just from a workforce perspective, but risk to the business strategy execution. And that's going to get people sitting up and take notice. I find it surprising that there is so much focus on risk in an organization, and yet does people risk actually feature at all? We're spending 65 to 70% of our costs on people, and yet we don't talk about workforce risk anything like enough. I think the role of the manager as being an advisor, a strategic advisor, a storyteller, and being able to identify the stuff that really matters, that's what's going to propel us into the fourth decade of this century.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. I think I will just take a pause and reflect upon a question that has come across about 10-12 minutes ago. And given the fact that the shift has happened towards the skilling and we spoke about persona, I would just read the question which Amy has put in the chat window. When we talk about the criticality of reskilling our workers, can the panel talk a little about how their organizations approach this activity to execute this successfully? I think that's a question. And then there is a rejoinder. It seems like there is a disconnect between what needs to be done at the worker level and how companies are approaching and strategizing for meeting that need. Uh, so I think that's broadly the rejoinder that has come across. Any perspectives that Melissa you would want to bring into play?
Yeah, so from that first section, I think that shift is happening as far as, well, I need some, if we were talking about reskilling technically or training, but for the global work and how we represent it, companies are shifting, though slowly. Like, and I think it's kind of embedded even in the question you were asking. The shift that we're gonna see because of this global, and as companies, even if they do it slowly, they are gonna shift, is that tech savvy yet human focused, like, leading the business impact rather than changing schedules. So if your organization isn't doing that yet, they will be, because in this world where now we're going to the talent instead of the talent coming to us, like really having human focused engagement is primary. So I think, to answer that question, it kind of went two ways. Like, the skilling a company is going to need and the investment they will need is they need their technical expertise to match the human element. And let me give you an example. Like, if you're talking about an agent who all day the easy questions are being answered by AI, right? Just say
Yeah.
AI chatbots, they have knocked out every easy question that has come in. So now the call or the contact coming to that human is deep, embedded. 2 weeks of training is not going to cut it. 3 weeks of training is not going to cut it. They're going to have a live tool to help them answer that question in a very human way. Like,
Yeah.
it is the differentiator of companies now. Like, how do you differentiate your service and your skill management? So from a workforce perspective, we need one agent to be able to handle many, many things. And we've got to be engaged in that experience of what they're getting to know, if a queue backs up or if we're not meeting those very technical WFM things, we've got to understand agent skilling and the humans in the seat more than ever. It is no longer handle time, distribution curves. It's understanding that there's a group of humans that has a technical ability beside them that we can leverage. So I think that'll be, and I don't know if I answered Amy's question because it could have gone either way, but I think it will be critical for a WFM professional to be more than a WFM professional. In fact, I predict a change. We'll see if I'm right. But right now, most WFM reports under the COO organization, right? We're under operations. Some of us IT, some of us finance. But I predict in 5 years, we're all going to be under a CPO organization, adjacent to talent acquisition, HR, agent enablement, agent engagement, because those are going to be the most critical things. So those are the skills that we're going to be looking at, and those are what we're going to have to execute more effectively in our world.
I'm glad you bring that context out, Melissa. Sorry, go ahead, please.
Sorry, but I was just going to say, and Vinit was saying the forecasting is not evolved enough.
Right. Exactly. Forecasting isn't going away. Being strategic with your forecast is what's coming to the forefront.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think just another perspective that comes to supplement your point, Melissa, is whatever was done by, let's say, our L1 in terms of handling the simplicity, or maybe at most the variability. I think all of that is going to be handled by the bots. So obviously the workforce are going to be, technically speaking, the first line would now start becoming more an L3 than a level one level one state. So the persona that Russell talks about, uh, I think very clearly is going to be linked to the fact of how curious is the workforce manager. I think from a skill perspective. Second point is it's going to be a very integrated skill base that would come across and define whether it is ability to oscillate and toggle with uh, technology bend, and second would be more a perspective of the extent of emotional quotient that will go in terms of identifying humane dimensions that I think many speakers have alluded to. Uh, Coming to you, Martin, what is it that you will want to interject and completely turncoat the discussion? No pressure.
No, that's fine. So I think that I think it was Russell who was saying, like, of course, we need to train and to make sure that that person has the skill. I think that one thing that is very important is that we shouldn't let that change or that training to be done by some, I mean, some different area other than us. It's like you cannot wait for it. All companies have or either a transformation team or a product team or whatever that is that they, of course, they have, like, they own the solutions and they're working, they keep working on the solutions and all the things that related with AI. I think that it's very important for us, for the workforce team, to do not wait for the solution, the perfect solution from these teams, which it's like we need to work with them. We're gonna get what they have, but we need to be to absorb it and to know how to use it on our day-to-day basis. Um, so because again, this is not going to be a 2 weeks training or something like you start a training and then it's done, completed, and then you know AI. It doesn't work like that. It's about how to get to work, how you understand and you learn the skills. So I think that it's very important that from our own workforce team, we know how to use the tools on a daily basis, run workshops, and like be part of the team and not waiting for something else outside of the team.
Fantastic. Jay?
I think, for upskilling, right? Some of the things we have done from our my past organization and current organization perspective is, and I think as Martin, I think just mentioned, right? Having training and learning and development investments done that enables WFM practice is critical, right? Because the way normal L&D works to the skills you have to develop, from a basic knowledge to advanced knowledge to getting to certain level of expertise, then you have a trainer or teacher mindset that can actually coach and develop the team because you have enough experience and practice of dealing with chaos. Goes a long way. I think from in my past organization with the Result CX team, we had done a good bit of investment at the time as well, right? Under Sharon's leadership, and rest of the leaders supporting that enablement. Similarly in T-Tech, my current leadership team is also we have a dedicated L&D team that supports our practice. The idea is that the skills enablement, uh, what business intelligence you need to plug in to what you need to deliver out, how in what context it needs to be delivered, because it needs to be tiered, right? You have to kind of what you communicate to a ops manager, to what you communicate to your frontline operational leaders, to what you communicate to site lead or regional leaders, right? Those tierings to all the way up to executive team makes a big difference on what is relevant. And that's not to say the details are not relevant, but the relevancy as you move up the value chain or food chain, depending on how you want to look at it, it changes, right? With the higher up you go, the less span of attention they have. So the getting to the focused conversation is becomes more critical. If you start with 20 points of details when all they need to know is two, then that variation, that 20 points of details where they're relevant to 2 points of details where they're relevant is critical, right? And teaching that to our team members, incorporating financials and critical KPIs on our client engagement, all of that, all of those things working in a right concert will provide a fantastic enablement and acceleration to the business and organizations.
Fantastic, Jay. Thanks for bringing that out. Evelyn, I would go back to what Melissa had done some level of crystal ball gazing. She became a true forecasting analyst and she said, okay, there is going to be a CPO organization, and drawing attention from your experience over last so many years on managing scale, variability, and complexity. The question I would want to shift more from a WFM discipline standpoint, and the question would typically evolve around what are the building blocks of a dynamic AI-driven workforce, and how will basic WFM disciplines of forecasting, planning, and scheduling change?
So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, no, Melissa, sorry, were you?
No, I was just asking who the
Oh.
question was to.
Oh, I think it was to me.
Go ahead.
So, I do think,
Yeah.
as we discussed earlier, the changes over the last 5 years into the next 5 years is going to be, amazing. If we think back, COVID was 5 years ago. It doesn't feel like it was 5 years ago. And a lot has changed since then, not because of COVID, but the way that people work. But I do think that the building blocks of dynamic AI-driven workforce, responsible AI practices need to be in place. We're moving to use AI more and more, but we've got to have responsible AI practices in a company. It's crucial for building, an AI-ready culture. As we said, our teams need to be upskilled and reskilled to understand AI. But the company itself have got to have a solid AI practice in place, which everybody is aware of and everybody works to, because that ensures the transparency and the ethical use of AI technologies. Because it's not always perfect. It doesn't come up with the right answers all the time. That's why I come back to we still need humans there. But as far as dynamic AI driven workforce, we've got to include that in talent transformation. As I said, responsible AI practices, strategic workforce planning will perform a huge part of that. So aligning the workforce strategies with the long-term business goals and objectives is vital. We've started to use AI in that space to give us forecasting. So we're not looking at historic data as such, like we always used to crunch on spreadsheets and build great plans. Now we're using IA to forecast next 30, 60, 90 days, then out, the following quarters. So there's big changes happening, small steps, but big changes of things that we can use going forward. So, I think it's pulling all that together and then being able to make a data-driven decision. So leveraging the analytics and the AI to allow us as leaders in workforce management in the business to make that informed decisions about the workforce. And that should include talent acquisition, resource allocations, performance optimization. So, I think it's the sort of changes I see happening in the basic workforce management disciplines is, the forecasting, the planning, and the scheduling. So AI is going to optimize scheduling. We can see it's starting to happen. We're using some of it. And it can automate the creation of shift schedules, for example, meet demands while considering employees' preferences. And it will increase the compliance to what we need to do. But we have to remember the employee engagement in there as well, to make sure that what we're doing is fair, unbiased, and it's we don't forget that there's a human at the other end of this. I think that's my sort of take on the building blocks. Is everything that's happening with AI and automation, etc., is great, and we need to understand it. We need to be tech savvy, as Melissa said. We need to understand all these things, but we can't forget that there's a human on either side, and we need to interpret what AI is telling us and be able to explain that to the business.
Which means surely, Evelyn, that you need to be really clear about what your operating model is for these kind of transformations, and understand sort of if you want to get from one end of wherever you're starting to the end that you want to get to. You've actually unblocked all of the blockers to that, and also addressed any of the risk and control issues that there may be, as well as the ethical and indeed the HR policy issues which are bound to sort of arise as you go.
Yeah.
But particularly if we're moving, particularly if you're moving to sort of more of a skills-based, task-based kind of environment, because that kind of sort of throws the nature of work and employment as we understand it somewhat up in the air.
Yeah, and I do see us moving to more skills-based, task-based staffing model, rather than it's a job role at a level. It's somebody that's got the skills that is able to perform the tasks. And it's not so much it's got to be this type of job role at this band level. It's do you have the skills to do the job? It doesn't matter where you are, you need to do the job. You know, that's you're able to do that work. And I think we're definitely changing to that. You know, as I said, small steps. We're not, full bang in there. And if it came back to, the organization constraints, etc. Our company, we moved from the COO. So a lot of workforce management people sit in the COO. As Melissa mentioned, we moved into the HR organization. So we are in the same team as learning. We're in the same team as talent acquisition. We're in the same team as comp and BEM. We're in the same team as the HR VPs. And it's amazing how much you can get done when you're all still in the same team of everybody that touches the people, our workforce that are out there. So for me and my team, I think the move into the HR organization has been a real step forward. We've got the analytics team in there. We've got the AI team in there as well. So we're very much linked up with the strategy of the business and where they want to go to with the workforce. But, coming back to the building blocks, I think it's, forecasting, planning, scheduling in there, and it's using AI to help and assist with that, but it does need the human element to analyze and then bring that forward.
Sorry,
You're on
clarity on
mute.
operating
Mute
model,
again.
David. Sure. Hope I'm able. I'm audible now.
You are, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are
yeah.
audible now, yes.
Perfect. Yeah, David, I was talking about, thanks for pointing out the clarity on operating model, I think is an important constituent. I think that was an important segment. Risking and de-risking. Risking whether through the quantum of tasks that is going to be brought into AI, and then obviously de-risking that is going to be an important attribute that will play well. So thank you for bringing that point out. Any perspectives that you will want to add, Martin?
No, I think it's this is a very key, a very interesting takeaway to have the workforce organization under the CPO. That's something that I hadn't thought about, but makes a lot of sense actually. In my current organization, we are under the COO, as I'm assuming it's like the standard. Just one thing about what Evelyn was saying. I think that if we agree that upskilling or reskilling is going to be key for where we want to go, I think that then the workforce will take a key role in making the policies and the changes necessary to retain that talent pool. Because I mean, if we need to reskill, that means that we're not going to have a lot of talent, or at least it's going to be difficult to get the talent that we need. So if that's the case, then I think that workforce is going to have a critical role in that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. No, thank you. Thank you for bringing
And
that context. Yeah, go ahead,
And then
Melissa,
I would just
please.
like to say one thing. We are all analysts and predict the next thing. So just as WFM professionals out there, think about what we just said. If you're going to move to the COO to the CPO and you still need to understand it's time to start upskilling on agent engagement and the HR organizations within your organization. Because if that's the path we're taking, you definitely need to understand the technologies that go with their groups. They have very different, when you talk about TA, HR, they are driving just as fast on enablement as we are. So if you want to upskill yourself, start learning what a CPO is responsible for.
I think that's a good
And
point.
historically,
So,
we tend to fight that. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, I mean, I'm working in HR. I work in HR at the moment. It's the first time I've worked in HR with strategic workforce planning as sort of part of it. I think you will find, just as there are people in, say, the COO camp who say, well, we need to get much closer to HR, you'll find people in the HR camp saying we need to get much closer to the COO. And I think that there is a coming together here where HR departments kind of historically haven't enjoyed a good reputation for really being terribly business savvy. So if you are moving in that direction, I think it's a good thing. But I think also you have to recognise that if you are heading in that direction towards the CHRO, then if you're going to be effective in doing the job that you do, you're probably going to have to start to understand things like organisational design, organisational development, and all of those kind of components, because it will become a part of your stock in trade. I think ultimately we are very much in the organisation development business, so it doesn't. It makes logical sense for us to be sort of learning those things, which I am still trying to learn.
Very interesting. Thank you, David, for bringing it out. Martin, you were alluding to some of the pointers. Please go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just replying to Melissa when she said, like, what does it mean to report or to be part of the HR organization? I would say, and I think I'm not the only one, historically, we tend to be opposed to HR, like for what we need, the ramp ups, everything that it's like something that is tend to be with tension with HR. I mean, that's like the trend. But now, I mean, we're going to be part of their team. So I think that's a major swing for me.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for bringing it out. Mark, we have put you to sleep. Sorry about that. Took me longer to reach out to you. My scheduling was ineffective.
Oh, no, good. You're good. Just kind of going back to the building blocks, I think, part of that we've talked about is just really streamlined and structured processes, even more so than what we have today to make sure that we're incorporating all of the AI tools into that. And really, I think somebody mentioned this earlier too, but just clear understanding that the team needs to have a clear understanding of the business strategy and the goals and where we want to move toward. Right. Obviously, data curiosity is going to be a huge piece of it. They're going to have to be able to be curious about the data. I'd say data analysis and data processing, but we can only say that so often. But data curiosity really coming into, okay, looking at the data, looking at the export of what the AI tool is providing and the solution is providing, and then start making decisions and recommendations on that. So that's the knowledge, and that's really the base, I think, that we're going to have our team have, so they can help tell that story to the executives and to the business decision makers, because they're going to have to paint that picture for them, with that data, and that's the type of knowledge and training that they're going to have with that, right? So it's the people skills, but and their math skills that they already have based on our current model, but also kind of that storytelling skill and that ability to really dive deep into the data to extract the summarized information to make sure we're making the proper business decision. So I think that's where we have to go with it. And I think it was Evelyn that mentioned on some of the roles that we're having. I think she hit it right on the head when she mentioned like our scheduling team. and schedulers. I think they're going to almost be a thing of the past at some point. We've got so many inputs that we can have into AI tools and to the workforce tool, from the employees, from the agents, where you're going to have all the inputs. You're going to have labor inputs, labor laws, labor structure in there, and the tool is going to paint a beautiful picture of schedules that's going to align to the workload. And so I think they're going to have to transition into a different role, and that's more of a data analyst, data scientist role within the team. I think that's going to be a big one. Forecasting, talking about forecasting in that role, they become more of a fine tuner of what the AI is going to extract and provide. That they're going to tune that, they're going to massage that, and put the finer details on that. But they're essentially their job descriptions are really going to change from kind of that predictive analysis and prediction role that they have today versus, and now they're going to just really be more of that fine tuner, to make sure that they keep AI on the rails, so to speak. So I think that's a big part of it. And then from a planning standpoint, that they're going to be those planners, the capacity planners, they're going to be a big part of cost drivers or cost savers, when they're taking that overall plan and then working towards that. So I think those are, in my opinion, some of the changes to those design disciplines that we have within WFM today.
Awesome. Thank you for bringing that context out, Mark, and that alludes to what David had called out in terms of organizational design, or so a skill proficiency that needs to be looked at. And you are saying that the whole role description, job description will have to be undertaken with a view of redesigning. So I think to that extent, there is a good level of training that is happening. Okay, perfect. So Russell, you talked about data science. There are a few questions that I'm seeing which will address that. We'll come to the question answers later. Dr. Shiva, I think we have about 12, 13 minutes left. Is that right?
Yes, Vinit,
Okay. Okay, perfect.
we can take the questions from the audience, a few of the
Sure.
questions, and also, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think one last question, which we will do a quick round table across all the panelists in the interest of all the participants that we need to look at. We have spoken about it, but this would, in terms of crystallization, would bring across. So the last question that would be undertaken, it's a panelist vision that we will want to look at. And what is your vision of evolution of a WFM leader, and the competence that needs to be accordingly built in next 3 years? It's a very specific one. In next 3 years, for us to be prepared to deal with whatever disruptions comes across in 2030 and onwards. We'll just do a quick round table. I mean, I'll move from my left to right. So Melissa, I'll come to you as start point. What would be your vision of
So,
evolution of role of a WFM leader and the competence
so
that they need to build over next 3 years?
thank you so much. And I think we've talked about a lot of these, but what we really, really need to think about, there has to be a balance between automation and human leadership. So when AI can't do it, how do we intervene? When? Cross-functional influence like HR, finance, strategy, operations, more than ever, your skills to communicate, navigate, and partner with your organizations are going to be so important. Forecasting before gaps emerge, just balancing efficiency with human care. Like now more than ever, the more technology comes in, the more we need to understand the humans that work in organizations and what drives them. So I think that is the biggest competencies we have to add in WFM over the next 5 years.
Thank you, Melissa. I'll move to you, Russell.
Yeah, and we talk about human intelligence all the time, and our emotional intelligence, it will not go away. It's still a very crucial a very significant factor that we need to consider as a leader, right? We talk about workforce reduction, eliminating some of the repetitive tasks because of AI. A lot of our workforce have been fearing of losing job, right? But us as leaders, it's very important for us to understand the dynamics of AI and its impact to the business, so we are able to also impart that to our workforce, so they're not fearing of losing their job. It's just trying to trying for them to understand that it's not eliminating them to be there. It's the importance of having them to adapt to change, skilling them. Their mindset has to be the same thing as how fast the technology is innovating. So whoever can adapt. I mean, we have been talking about this change, adaptability to change, ever since Charles Darwin, right? Survival of the fittest. So it's about you surviving, with the changes. But our role as a leader is, to guide them through this. Like Melissa said, human intelligence is still a factor. So we'll go hand in hand with them, right? Make them understand what's the changes coming to the workforce, right? It's not leaving them behind, it's encouraging them to adopt. And like I said, it's a mindset for each of every one of us. You cannot encourage everybody, you can only do so much. Also, the workforce need to be adaptable to change. They have to be open minded on embracing these changes, because that will also uh will guide them into the future, right? You cannot just say you can retain. I mean, you already invested in AI, you already invested in automation. Definitely, you have to optimize also your workforce, right? And then doing that, you know, we're redefining roles. Forecasters will still be there, right? Planning analysts will still be there. We're just elevating their task. It's not
Sure.
eliminating everybody. Real time analysts will be there. We'll just have to adopt to upgraded tools to help eliminate the repetitive tasks. But we're elevating the role into something
Yeah.
bigger, right? So I think that's a role. We'll have to make sure that our workforce will understand what's the end goal of doing all of this, and we'll have to be there with them.
Perfect. No, thank you. Thank you, Russell. Wonderful points, wonderful pointers, very, very specific to roles. Human intelligence, I think, was clearly there. David, your pearls of wisdom on your vision.
It's going to be a fairly thin string of pearls, I suspect, Vinny. There's an awful lot of clever people here. I see a more strategic angle to the workforce manager, workforce planner. I think that there is going to be a coming together of those different things. I've been a resource manager and I've been a strategic workforce planner. The two are connected to each other. The question is, what's my vision of the evolution of the role of the workforce management leader? I think as a trusted advisor to leadership, as someone who can tell the stories that the leadership need to hear. They're uniquely placed to see across the entire landscape and synthesize all of those different views into nuggets of truth. You could argue that they may have to speak truth to power a little bit, but I think it's their job to call out those truths, and also to come equipped with solutions. The value, for example, of a strategic workforce plan is zero unless you actually know how you're going to execute it. So there needs to be this ecosystem where we have not only created a plan that has a longer view, but we use the longer view to enable us to do things differently, to enable us to do things perhaps at greater scale, or with more efficient processes, perhaps with hiring channels and all of those kind of things. Because the other competence, I think, which I haven't heard talked about a lot, is financial awareness. and the ability to talk across multiple different disciplines pretty much seamlessly, depending upon who you're talking to. In a world where skill half-life is disappearing, almost as we look, and in an era where we don't seem to have anything like as many people available to do those clever things, we've got to look more to how we're going to utilize our people and reutilize them over and over for the best of the organization. You can't simply sort of hire people and fire them in the same way that we did. It was never a good idea anyway. But there is a cost associated with that is not just sort of morale to the company. It is also financial, and being able to articulate that and show how we therefore achieve benefit as a consequence of doing things differently is going to propel this profession into the leadership boardrooms of large organizations.
Fantastic. Evelyn, what would be your vision?
I think obviously we've covered a lot of it already, but the one thing I think is the continuously learning and development. As a workforce management leader, we've got to keep up with pace of what's changing out there, what's new, what's happening, and you can't stop learning and developing. And that's the same for our teams, but it's also the same message for our workforce. Things are changing so rapidly these days that continuous learning and upskilling has got to happen to everybody. We've got to change what we do today to what we need to do in the future. So I think as a workforce management leader, we must foster the culture of continuous learning to keep pace with the technological advancements that are happening, and they're happening quickly. So I would add that on to, what everybody else has added there.
Thank you, Evelyn. Anything that you'll want to add, Martin?
No, I think that Evelyn covered the very important part about the learning and development. Again, I think that it's critical, the retention and motivations initiatives, and that's very important for the workforce team as well. So there's going to be new skills. That's what we have been saying. So it's very difficult not to have people moving from one organization to the other one, or to keep having all of this attrition and things that happens to the operations, but also to our team. We have better tools. We have AI-driven workplaces. We have all of that, but burnout is still a thing, and it's probably increasing in time. So I think that's one thing that we need to be very careful to retain our talent in our team, and to make sure to upskill it.
Fantastic. Thank you. How about you, Mark?
So I think there's a few things, and a lot of stuff has already been said, but I think having that foundational and again, kind of repeating, but just that foundational learning environment to build your bench strength from your core folks, the ability to have that foundational learning to build new WFM members, because we're all gonna at some point here experience some very strong growth, right? So we've kind of, over the last several years, talking about the next 3 years, we've kind of been in a semi-holding pattern from a growth standpoint. And we're gonna, as we continue to grow, as that money's there to now spend, or it hasn't been in great sums over the last few years, the WFM team is going to have to expand. So not only are we going to have to upskill existing staff, we have to have that foundational learning to bring in new folks. We've got to be the source of solutions, right? So we can't just go and state here as a problem. And I think somebody mentioned this too, but we've got to be the source of solutions and just brilliant communicators to be able to go through and state here, summarize in a nice, neat little package to our senior leaders and our executives. Here's the path we need to take, or here are the risks that we see if that path isn't taken. So it's a matter of really being the communicators and making sure you improve in communication skills, improve your financial acumen. That way, you can explain in dollars what the impacts are going to be, and again, just that foundational learning. That all has to kind of tie together to ensure that we're ready for the transformation that's going to continue to take place.
Okay, perfect. Over to you, Dr. Shiva. I mean, just in case if there are a few questions that you may want to pick up for the panel.
I see a few of the questions, Beneath, that probably we can answer those.
Okay.
If anyone would like to take the questions, any of these questions, which make sense and relevant to you, and you would like to answer them.
Okay, so I think possibly Russell, you could take this question since you spoke about data science. This is, I hope I am pronouncing the name right. Please pardon me, Kalma Rotson. I'm highly interested in the potential of data science. What risks or implication does it present for both current and traditional workforce management process? Additionally, I mean, let's address this question first.
So I'll just take more of a warning on this question than the answer. Data science is important, but there are tons of other organizations building data analytics, BI. Make sure you set yourself up for the strategy of data science, right? Because I think if you just become a reporter, I warned my team, never have a reporter title. Like I don't have WFM reporting analyst in my organization because everyone reports. I'm a reporter, Scheduler's a reporter. We all report on what we do. So be sure if you dive in to data science and data intelligence, which is highly important. So I'm not saying not to, do not do that in a silo of your WFM strategy skill set, because that will put you into a different career path. And if you want to do that, that's great, but it is definitely something you should distinguish yourself in as you dive into data science.
Great perspective. Thanks for bringing it out, Melissa.
Yeah, I was about to say, Melissa, I totally agree with you, right? If someone is creating the data science for you and they're not from WFM, for example, so it has to also be a collaboration between the people who knows it, because it's the same thing as we did in the past. We create templates, right? If you are not the one who created the template and it gets broken, who's gonna fix it, right? So it's the same thing as that piece, right? We have to be involved. That way, it's never gonna be perfect. I know it's advanced, but it's never gonna be perfect. So it has to be something that needs to be a collaborative effort, right? We just don't rely on it because it's available. We have to be engaged, right? Whichever department is gonna use it, there should be a collaboration amongst the team, the AI team, whether it's training, workforce, operations, depending on how we're going to use that data science. So that's my take on that, Pinnick.
Thank you, Russell. There are a few questions. For example, George G, your question on AI in WFM world, I think we heard all the panelists, so we'll not take up that question. However, if you feel that there is something very specific, please do reach out to Dr. Shiva. We'll definitely respond on to it. Naresh, you talk about, do you see in-house innovation teams and investment for new research is going to be underviewed? And more the management will go for external merger and acquisition based innovation. Okay, slightly fuzzy in my mind. However, will you want to take it up, David, since you were talking of organizational design?
Well, in in the workforce fulfillment space, we have so many different Bs now. Buy, build, borrow has now been augmented by about 6 more, possibly 7. And this one is another. M&A is a workforce fulfillment solution, and I think that the current pace of technological development and expertise is such that you will see an increase in M&A activity, because while the desire of every org, I think, and I agree with Melissa on this, is to put learning and development at the heart of um, their their workforce strategy. It takes time, and I think we will see an impatience over the time that it takes, and a desire to remain competitive may well see us see a lot more M&A of relatively small niche players who are going to inject a particular piece of capability into larger organizations which are less flexible.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. Let me just look at. Okay.
Other opinions are available, of course.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I
Melissa,
think that was spot
you-
on. Yeah, I just think that was just such a spot on commentary. Like these small niche players, even the IT partners I'm working with, the smaller ones, they're hungry, they're engaged. And when they do get absorbed by your organization, they will scream and run in a beautiful way. So you've got to be prepared to listen, open up your way, open up your mind to different things, because it really is impressive what some of these organizations are bringing to the table. So I think that was a perfect point.
And actually, you make a very valid sort of corollary to that, Melissa, which is that the success of those acquisitions is wholly dependent upon the openness of the acquirer to adopt some of the thinking and ways of working of the acquired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, don't fit them into your culture. How can you improve your culture with what you're bringing in exactly? Yep.
Well said, Mark. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Any questions that I may have had missed out? Okay, I think Amy specifically brings it out for you, David.
Sorry, could you repeat? You cut out on me.
Sure. No, I think there is another question from Amy, possibly the last one. +1, David. I sit in a hybrid role that exists in the cyberspace to focus on board elevated people risk. So I think that's the context in which it is coming from. And then obviously description of the role.
This is something I can't see at the moment, I don't think. Am I looking in the right place?
You will have to look in the chat window. We have exhausted the Q&A.
Here we go. Right.
Yeah. I think it would be more a commentary than a or a rejoinder to your response, David. I think that is fine. Doesn't seem to be a question. Okay, Jonathan brings out, I wonder what interesting answers would be given if you enter these questions in generative AI and given the proper prompt to make its answers more strategic and holistic across different WFM functions. Perfect. Good idea for you, Dr. Shiva. And then obviously there is a narrative around and thanking GWFM and thanking you, Dr. Shiva, for this platform. Good. Okay. Thank you so very much, Jonathan. So I think with that, there are no more questions on the chat window. Over to you, Dr. Shiva.
Thanks, Vinit, and thanks all the distinguished speakers for taking out your valuable time and sharing your insights and wisdom of WFM. I believe that as we do research and continuous learning and innovation, WFM leaders and professionals have to play a dual speed role to understand the current business and also like shake hands with the business of the prospects of business. Prospects of business is long term is 2026, not longer than that. And whatever happens beyond 2026 is no one knows. So we are in the dynamic technology advancement world. Don't know that what will happen, but long term we see that in next 1 year, this year and next 1 year. Let's ideate and bring in new innovation to the table. And this year we're going to have a lot of innovation activities which we're going to do it in the month of June. There is WFM Innovation Hackathons, and we encourage all the companies to participate and get your team learn and get used to the innovation as a kind of habit, because we forget that innovation has to happen only certain area, but it has to happen as a habit. Once you have this as a habit, so you definitely create a value and trust in your organization, and you'll become an influencer in the organization. They just go by what you say. Ultimately, WFM leaders and professionals are going to play consultant and strategic consultant role, and they go by what you say, and the CXOs take decisions. So there is the level of maturity that we got to bring onto the organization's table, and we definitely get a seat in the boardroom to add to uh, business and how we can improve profitability and help organization grow exponentially. And this is what we got to really create value to the table, and bringing in dollar value to the table is something very important, that understanding the business better. Business acumen skill is very important for the WFM leaders and professionals. With this, I thank and express deepest and profound gratitude to Vineet for creating wonderful context, and the come out of the questions that amazing ones, where you created a lot of interactions with all the great leaders, and we covered all over the geography, from APAC, Europe, NA, and also Latin, except Australia. So, and we go to Australia in the month of May, so we'll cover that up very soon. And with that, GWFM wants to bring all the WFM professionals together, online and also offline. Please join us on our social media, also follow us, and participate in our events. So we got to become more of extrovert, and speak and lead and create more influence in the organization, and also create more influence in the society and also in the industry. That's where we bring and make a huge difference. So with that, I thank all the distinguished speakers, Martin, Mark, Melissa, Evelyn, Russell, and David. We just missed Jai, he had to log off. Thank you so much for all of your valuable time and presence. You really created a great learning today. I'm sure that we have created huge takeaways in this process. However, we're going to have a publish of white paper out of this very soon. Maybe by next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we will have a write up of this roundtable, so that this will be a great learning. At the same time, great takeaways for the fellow WFM professionals across the world to learn and adopt some of the new things, which I think that something need to be adopted in the organization. With this, thanks all the distinguished speakers for your valuable presence, and I thank all the participants for being there, listening to the sessions, and we have got very good attendance. I'm sure that you have got your takeaways and also good learnings from this. Thanks for the questions that few of them have asked for it. With this, thank you once again for all the participants and distinguished speakers for your valuable time and presence. On behalf of GWFM, I'm Shiva, your founder and CEO of GWFM, express deepest gratitude for your presence. Thank you.